Mitch McConnell, the longest-serving Republican Senate leader, has announced his retirement, marking the end of a 4-decade political career known for shaping American government and the Republican Party. 4 decades. Is that too long? Or is the experience needed to guide us through difficult times? Let's bring in Dave Dulio, Director of the Center for Civic Engagement and Political Science Professor at Oakland University. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Kevin. I'm well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. I guess this shouldn't come as a surprise. Mitch McConnell is getting up there in age. Has had some health difficulties. He's been there a long, long time.
He sure has. 40-some years as a public servant for the state of Kentucky is a long and distinguished career. But as you note, he's had some health troubles lately, and he makes this announcement yesterday on his 83rd birthday that he would not seek re-election next year, which, and if we do some math, had he run for re-election and he would have won, he'd have been 90 when he finished that term.
Yeah. With Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, others, the California senator who retired finally, Feinstein. There's been talk about should there be an age, and then you see someone like Donald Trump, who's about the same age. His energy is unbelievable. So I'm not sure if there's a right way to go with that.
I think that's right, and there are examples and counterexamples that we can find for every scenario. And certainly Mitch McConnell's physical health seems to be deteriorating, and as you'd expect with an 83-year-old, right? He seems to get around more in the Capitol these days in a wheelchair, and that can certainly and has raised questions about how long people hang on, and is he serving too long? But I think in totality, right, we have to think about what the Senate is going to lose when Mitch McConnell leaves that body, and it is an incredible wealth of knowledge, not only about American politics and legislation and law, but how the Senate runs, how the framers and the early members wanted it to.
Wait, he wasn't there for that, was he?
No. Well played, Kevin. In terms of but his knowledge of the place and his knowledge of the Senate as an ideal and as an institution, right? I think that's one of the ways that he'll go down and be remembered is an institutionalist and somebody who had a real command of tactics and parliamentary procedure that paid dividends for the Republican conference when he was leading it.
Well, also, history repeats itself. So as different crises come, they may be different, but they probably remind you of something that you've been through before. So if you've been there for 40 years, you've seen stuff before, and you might react to it differently than some senator who maybe he's only been there for 3 or 4 years.
Well, I think that's correct. And, like I said before, there are, arguments to be made on each side. And when we do see somebody who's, 80 years old, 83 years old, et cetera, I think it's fair to ask, should we have age limits? Is somebody served too long? But again, we lose that institutional knowledge. We lose that perspective that we can learn from history, as you mentioned, right? That it is, hey, last time this came around, maybe the circumstances weren't quite exactly the same, but, here's how these different players acted, and this is how it played out. I think that the benefits of that are often lost on us.
I like the 6-year terms versus the House, the 2-year terms. It seems like they're running all the time. They're always in the next election. Is there ever, what would it actually take to make changes? Whether you increase the number of years that the House was elected for, or you had a limited, term limits to the point where maybe you could serve, only 2 or 3 or 4 terms?
Yeah, that would take constitutional amendment, and it would, I think you make a great point about the 6-year terms and not running continually as House members do. The framers envisioned the U.S. Senate to be removed from electoral pressure. They wanted that pressure to be on the House members, so they gave them short terms and direct popular election. But the Senate number one, was not originally elected by the people. That came via constitutional amendment 100-some years later. We still have that 6-year term, which does allow for maybe a cooling off period from the campaign season. And, I think that is an element that would be, it would be a bad thing if we got rid of that.
The Senate's so close, razor thin margin. What happens in that district?
It seems like, from my understanding of the Senator McConnell's announcement, he's going to finish out his term.
Right.
So we're already seeing a number of people in Kentucky say,
"We love an open seat, don't we?"
Yeah, it's going to be a free for all, and it's going to be a knockdown drag out. But it's a Republican state. I would imagine that whichever Republican emerges from that primary in 2026 probably pulls it off.
Okay, so they won't get all the ad spending that we're going to get in the open seat here in Michigan.
No, maybe we could send some of it their way so we don't have to endure it, but I don't think that's in the cards.
Hey, we're doing report card day for Donald Trump, 30 days. What grade would you, I don't know if this will surprise you, but Congressman Mullen, Republican, gave Donald Trump an A. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, a Democrat, gave Donald Trump an F. So we got an A and an F. What would you give Donald Trump after 30 days?
I'm going to go incomplete, because we just don't have certainty on a number of things that he is trying to do. I think the even on the spending side and the cuts that are coming out of DOGE, right? Those aren't done yet. There's things that are left to be done to fully execute those cuts, and by that I mean congressional action if we're really going to see it. But so much of the stuff is tied up in the courts that we just don't know how it's going to play out at the end of the day. And without knowing that, I don't think we can.
Absolutely. All right. We really appreciate it. Dave Dulio, Director of the Center for Civic Engagement, Political Science Professor at Oakland University. Trump, his approval rating dipping a little bit as people are kind of saying, hey, remember when you said you were going to do something about inflation, and I'm still paying $5 for eggs? So he's got to keep an eye on that as well. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to All Talk on